Like every other idea, ours also began with a motive to address a problem. In India, 13% of the population is that of children below 6 years. While the Right to Free and Compulsory Education Act 2009 was a landmark legislation that ensured that education becomes a fundamental right of every child between 6 and 14 years, it clearly overlooked the vital need for early childhood care and education of these very young children below 6 years. This has been a major lacuna since, globally, research from neuroscience has clearly established that 90% of the brain growth is already completed by age 6, and these early years of critical importance not only for school learning but for life. This policy lacuna needed to be filled, for which strong evidence-based advocacy was required. This is the core of the story of CSED, its inception, and how we in CSED have tried to bring in our own research evidence in early childhood care and education to influence the mainstream discourse and policy and practice in India. October 2009. This is the official date of inception for the Center for Early Childhood Education and Development. But there is a story behind every creation.
Establishment of the university almost coincided with Professor Vinita Paul's retirement from the World Bank, and then we thought that it's an opportunity for us to sort of get a person with her kind of credentials and her kinds of long experience and very high credibility in the field of early childhood education development. And in any case, early childhood education development was one of those areas which we had thought of emphasizing. So this was a fortuitous set of circumstances which enabled us to bring her in and enable the creation of facilitate the creation of a center for early childhood education development. That's how it happened.
There's not much happening by way of creating indigenous knowledge in this area, of making the advocacy more evidence-based, because unless you are able to show results, the policy makers are also not convinced about it. And I also wondered what I would be doing once I retire. And at the same time, Dr. Adarsh Sharma, a year earlier, had retired from NIPSID as a director of NIPSID. And both of us had worked in this area in our respective capacities. And so we just came together and we said, let us do something in this area. Let us set up a resource center, or a center where we could promote research and capacity building as well as to do advocacy.
I can still recall, how the first concept of CSED was developed. Vinita was at that time in World Bank, and she was almost on her thing of leaving the World Bank, and I get a call and I see myself sitting across the table, and we just said we need something which should really be a hub of all single window EC, this thing, and it should be a resource center. And we were not sure where would we get funding, how would we do it. And the luck was so good. We were very lucky that Ambedkar University was coming around the same time. And Vinita was the one who was really met Dr. Menon somewhere, talked to him, and the idea was accepted. And then 9th June board meeting of 2009, a small proposal which both Vinita and myself had worked out was accepted by the board. And that was the beginning of the CSED as a center.
CSED began in a small room at the Dwarka campus of Ambedkar University, Delhi, with a small team which included Professor Vinita Kaul, Professor Adarsh Sharma, who was there on a part-time basis, 2 research associates, Shubhi and Samin, supported by Anil and Manish, and with just one funded project in hand from Aga Khan Foundation to start our journey with.
Functions of the center kept evolving. So we started with research, and then we made it research and advocacy. Then we also realized that while we are advocating for early childhood education and development, there is not much capacity in the system for this area, because there are not many people who are trained in this area. There are not many people who know about this area in the right way possible, although there was a lot of service provisions by way of the private sector and the ICDS, which was expanding. So we, as a university, we thought it would be a good idea if we could have a master's program in early childhood care and education, and we were fortunate again to get the support of Sir Ratan Tata Trust Fund, and from that we were able to put a faculty together and actually initiate or offer this 2 years master's program in early childhood education, which care and education, which is now in its 3rd year of running. So that function also evolved over time. We realized that advocacy, we were doing a lot of quarterly workshops, seminars, just to keep people interested in this field and create a kind of a momentum. So when we did that, we realized that we were only reaching out to Delhi. We were not reaching out to the larger segment, as well as we were not able to, even in Delhi, we were talking more to the converted than to the people who needed to be converted. And therefore we thought that we should have a very strong communication angle aspect to it. So then we further evolved from research into advocacy, into capacity building, into communication. Research which came in as a collaboration with Yale University, where we were actually working on infant stimulation, early stimulation, doing a curriculum, adapting a curriculum for this randomized controlled trial in Odisha. We also were working on this longitudinal research, which was perhaps the first of its kind in the South Asia, maybe definitely in India, and in which we were focusing on what should be the preschool curriculum and the impact of that curriculum on primary education. We also got into early literacy, because some of the projects, because in addressing the learning continuum, it so happened that we also got engaged with the 6 to 8 year olds. So on the one hand, while our functions were research, advocacy, capacity building and networking and communication, our interest areas addressed the entire continuum of early childhood, which was from infancy to preschool to early literacy.
This center is more or less a pioneer in the country, I feel, because it was a part of a emerging university where generally people focus on programs of higher education, and it was given a special status of a center which naturally provides more autonomy and more scope to do things in terms of the emerging challenges. I think CED was fortunate to have this sort of a privilege of having a position as a center in a university.
CSED is an important voice. The team there have a very good understanding of the issues, and we expect them to continue to work in this way, raise issues where these issues are not raised. This is the only budget which keeps getting slashed year after year, so we expect strong voices to work in this area so that the youngest citizens of the country are also looked after.
When state decided to go ahead with the national curriculum and national policy, this has been part of with us from day one.
Association with CSED, it has been quite intense and very active involvement. It's not a passive one time they come to the seminar and go away. There were numerous workshops and capacity building exercises that were conducted, and the curriculum revision itself was a massive, very democratic exercise where we had Anganwadi workers, supervisors, CDPOs, even representatives from the Department of Women and Child Development, and then having CSED there, guiding the exercise.
One good thing I noticed in the CSED, the functioning of CSED and the leadership is Professor Kaul. it's different completely. I worked with many UN bodies. I worked with a lot of international agencies during my previous stint as a director of the NBD. So I have a knack to see the things how they are moving it. When I saw the working, I get this is the kind of the futuristic organizations which is working under the umbrella of the university should work.
I take this opportunity to congratulate Dr. Vinita and her team for this great achievement. Amazing to know CSED has not only disseminated the knowledge in the area of early childhood education and care, but also created knowledge through its various research initiatives. As I have been time and again quoting, finance will be coming out with innovative ideas and open-minded to support CSED and its various initiatives.
I would hope that CCD would now begin to consolidate and deepen its involvement in these large mini projects and be able to distill out from these efforts some essence which would give us deeper insights into children and childhood in this part of the world, in this culture. So I think that I would hope would be the next major milestone that CCD would attempt to cross.
As we continue on our journey towards giving the young children of this country a better foundation and appropriate environment that foster early learning and ensure all-round development, we invite all of you to join us, support us,